It's going to be obvious to viewers that 83-year-old Professor Bill is using a voice synthesizer named Ash. This girl's voice is a product of ElevenLabs. Bill selected this voice to help demonstrate his printmaking back in 2009 and now in 2025. Take it away, Professor.
That's my wife, Linda. She's coming into the Halfwood Press Workshop to help me that day to do the video work when we tested Debbie's press, number 44. This morning, 2025, she pointed out that the ink that I used in that demonstration is an oil-based ink. It costs about $20 a tube. And the ink I'm using today is filament. It's an acid, polylactic acid, a chemical, biodegradable, made of starch and sugar. And well, let's watch the video and maybe later we can talk about 3D printing, the printmaking today. Hi.
Hi. You're just in time. I'm going to test her press. Would you do the camera?
Oh, sure.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to test this new mini Halfwood press, number 44. I always test the presses before the people come and pick them up or before I ship them. I'm going to take out the box, take it off of its shipping board just the same way the person owning it would do. Take off the shipping board, take out the little instrument box. I'll show you what's in the box. The box has the certificate of authenticity. It has the blankets, the brand new felts that come with the press. It has a DVD called The 1 Minute Printmaker. It has some artifacts from the plates that I made. A little book that goes with the press, sort of a birth certificate. It has an owner's manual, and it has a test plate for the new owner to try out copper, and a couple of postcards and an Allen wrench for tightening the wheel if it ever came loose. That's what's in the instrument box. I'm not going to use the new felts when I print today. I'm going to use some older felts. And I'm not going to leave it on the shipping board. I'm going to remove the shipping board, and I'm going to put it on a sticky plastic mat, the kind you can buy in a kitchen supply store. And that'll keep it from moving around once I start printing. These little short felts are just to keep the roller from bouncing around when it's being delivered. I'll set them aside. Now, we're going to be doing an intaglio plate because the press is really designed for intaglio. I prepared 2 plates ahead of time. And when I make these test plates, these plates go with the press. It's a kind of a fun little game that I made up. My supplies here are telephone book pages. I have paper that's been damping now for about 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to be doing some Chine-collé, so I have these 2 little stamps. I only need 1, but just in case anything goes wrong, I have a backup. This is a little hot plate made out of an iron. It's kind of a joke, actually, but people get a kick out of it, and I use it for warming the plates when I print. These are my inks. I have some Black Daniel Smith etching ink, and I have a whole assortment of my favorite Charbonnel colors: sanguine, blue, purple, or violet. This is plate oil. I like to use a drop or 2 of plate oil when I mix up my inks. This is talcum. It's actually baby powder because I was out of printmaker's talcum. This is a squeegee for spreading the ink out. a brayer for smoothing the ink once I've got it spread out, a spatula for getting the ink mixed up, and a glass slab. This funny thing is another piece of that plastic sticky material that I taped to a board, piece of 1/4-inch plywood, and that I call my sticky board. You'll see how I use that to hold my plate. My plates are generally small because I believe small prints are beautiful and they go so well with the mini press. I'm going to start with the black ink. The ink has a skin on it because I haven't opened this can for a couple of weeks. And I just pull back that dead skin and take out a tiny bit of black. That's way more than I need, but that's alright. And I'll smooth the skin back out, put the lid on. As I said, I like to add one tiny drop of plate oil. This is called ink modifying. That has a skin on it also, so it's going to be a little stubborn. Oh, whoops, too much. I just want a drop. I'll move over here. If you get too much oil, it'll wipe out of the plate too fast. That feels about right. I'm going to print the black in the handwriting that's on this plate. It won't take much because there's not much image etched into the plate. That's enough ink. Now I'll warm it, and by warming it, the ink will get soft and runny right away. Makes it a lot easier. Now I'll put it on the sticky board, and so that I don't get ink all over everything, I'll put down a piece of newsprint, and then I'll roll it out smooth. Now I begin what I call the paper wipe. Back to the sticky board. A lot of ways to wipe plates. Traditionally, we use a fabric called tarlatan. This is tarlatan. You go over the plate first with tarlatan very lightly, and then follow it up with a paper wipe, or the hand wipe, which you will see in a few minutes, in a minute or two. Now one side of this etching is for the other plate, which is coming up. You can see here. And so the side of the plate that's blank is where this plate is going to be printed. It's a two-step process. Again, I don't do the same thing every time. I make up new test plates every time I make a press. My reward for all the crafts and work that I had to do to make the press, my reward is that I get to do some improvisation and be kind of wild and crazy. And I'm so fond of violet mixed with sanguine that I'm going to use that combination. A little bit of violet, a little sanguine. Now I'll pick up a little drop of that oil, soften it up a little bit, slip that paper back under there, makes it a little neater. Now the roller has black ink on it, but I can just use it sparingly to get some of the ink just rolled out uniform. I won't contaminate the color. There's not enough black ink on the roller to contaminate. I'm going to double this over so that I have a fairly clean piece of newsprint. I'm going to warm the plate and then start using the tarlatan. It doesn't take long to heat that little plate. Put it on the sticky board. Pretty soon I'll be adjusting the pressure on the press, and we'll pull our proof to prove that the press works. So I'm going to use a hand wipe now at this stage. First I'll dry off my hand. It's been getting a little sweaty inside that rubber glove. A little bit of talcum powder to dry it off really well, and then very lightly go over the plate with the heel of my hand, this little kind of fat muscly part of my hand. That's called the hand wipe. Use a little talcum powder, only a tiny bit of talcum powder. You rub off all the talcum powder so that it doesn't dust into your ink, and then you wipe the plate with that little heel of your hand. That's the hand wipe. Now I'm ready to set up the press. When you get your mini Halfwood press, it's always a question as to how much pressure you're going to need, and that's why I make these test DVDs, is it helps the owner know how to set up the press. This press is brand new, so it still has the protective cover on the Lexan bed. She might want to remove that when she gets it to her studio. I started the blankets or the felts under the roller, roll them in just a little bit, and just tighten it down comfortably tight. This is always a tough thing to communicate, because how heavy is heavy? The answer is, when you print it, you'll see whether it had enough pressure or not. All other things being equal, that is, the paper dampened, the plate thickness, and so forth. Now I'll bring over the paper. As I said, this paper's been in the little damp book for a couple of hours now. I just sprayed it with a spray bottle. This particular paper is called Arches Cover. It's a good printmaking paper. You put it in a plastic bag and set it under a flat weight for a couple hours, and it comes out nice and soft. It's called a damp book. I'll put the other one in case I have to do this test twice, or if I like the print, I might make one for myself. So the paper goes on the bed. I get it started, just started, and I'm going to print the lettering first. And as soon as I get it through the press, I'll replace the first plate with the second plate. I like to go slowly when I print. I think I get a better impression if I go slowly. That little jerk told me that I'm off the plate now, so the camera operator might want to walk around the other side. There's the lettering, and I left the paper trapped under the roller, and I'm going to warm the other plate because I get a better print if it's warm. Just warming it up so it's not too hot to carry, but it's hot enough to warm the ink and make it soft. I just realized I forgot the Chine-collé part, so if you'll just keep that camera rolling, I'll go back and catch that. Chine-collé is just glued paper. I'm using Yes Paste. Chine-collé is a process of using paste on the back of an image and then running it through the press. I run the risk of getting a blurry image having run it through twice, but it's a risk I have to take. Again, my main purpose is to test the press, not necessarily to make a great work of art. And here we are. And that completes the test. Thank you very much, Linda, for your help. And I'm Bill Ritchie. Goodbye.